Welcome to episode 75 of Beer with Strangers. We switched over internet, so I hopped up for a second. I am Tony Russo. I am your host, and I'm joined this week, as I'm joined most weeks, by my co-host, Doug Griffith. Good afternoon, Tony. Good afternoon.
I'm trying to think, it's morning or afternoon?
Well,
we got past noon. So anyway, I'll go through my normal weekly weather report, which we haven't done for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah. We took 2 weeks off, and you missed 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, but anyway, it's sunny, bright. In fact, I almost need my sunglasses on for the sun coming in the window here. So a little cooler than it has been, but still beautiful, beautiful days. I think it's going to be almost 70 days, so I can't say it's very cool, but the nights have been cooler.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous out. I was actually I have a new job as we discussed. I'm now the OceanCity.com editor, and one of the things that I wrote about today is
Short Craft Beer.
And Short Craft Beer editor now. Yes, yeah. Congratulations to me. By the way, if you're watching this and if you're listening and you want to write for shortcraftbeer.com, let me know, because I know a guy. And
Tony Russo?
I'd love to get, especially some homebrewers writing about homebrewing on there. But I'd love to get more writing done for that site. But one of the things, I was just working at OceanCity.com now. People call all the time, or they email, and they're like, "Is it nice? Is anything still open?" And it's weird to me that people think like that. Well, Ocean City's closed because the 4th of July is over. And this is just one of those. So I went out yesterday and took some pictures, and there were like 1 million people on the boardwalk. Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon.
It's really nice.
Beautiful day. I love October. My birthday's in October. It's my favorite month. It was my favorite. It would be my favorite month even if it weren't my birthday. I think, especially if my birthday was in February or something, just like when the weather's just brutal, or in August. I mean, my daughters are all in August, and we have to take that into consideration when they have their birthday parties. Like, is the pool open? Is there shade? What if it's 1 billion degrees? For me, October, I might get a little bit of a rainstorm, but the weather's always. My birthday's October 10th. The weather is always really. It rains a lot because it's the beer festival weekend.
And actually, I got to tell you, I did something unusual this week. Our mutual friend Ed Draper called me Monday morning and said, "Well, I'd like to go flying."
Oh, wow!
So I went flying with him. He had the opportunity. He needed a plane, or where he had his plane, they had another plane that they wanted flown for an hour or so to see what problems it had with it. Well, flew over and down Ocean City.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I have to take it back. So it was a beautiful day like it is now. You had about 10-mile at least visibility. So, and it just amazed me. I knew how thin the strip was. Yeah, it really is thin, and that peak is even thinner.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It's funny. I've actually also had that opportunity. I don't know if I told you the story, but there's a guy. His name is Andy Sherrill. And he's a World War II veteran, and he belongs to this pilots association. And one year, the Pilots Association wanted to hire a reporter to write about what it was like to take your first airplane lesson. Yeah. And so he gave me my first flying lesson, and I was nervous until I saw him, and we talked a little bit because he flew, he flew in the Pacific during World War II. Right. And so I said, well, you know what? The Japanese didn't do anything to bring him down. Certainly, I'm not going to screw up. I'm not going to make this guy panic.
He must have had success. I mean, much better than fly with somebody maybe who's 30 years old.
Absolutely.
I mean,
as long as he didn't have a heart attack behind the wheel, there's nothing I was going to do. And
so how long ago was this?
It was one of the first. It was one of my first newspaper assignments as a professional reporter. So 2004, 2005. But it was the same thing. You don't realize. I didn't realize how thin Ocean City and Asset were until you're up there and you're like, wow, that just looks like a sandbar. It doesn't look like there's even room.
He picked me up in Georgetown, and as soon as we got up, like 1,500 feet, you can see the ocean. I mean, it's not far.
No, and that's another thing you get surprised about.
Right.
The dimensions.
He was flying 160 knots, which is almost 200 miles an hour. It was a twin turboprop. It was 10-seater. So it was, although the cockpit was it was really crowded. You really had to be careful getting into the thing.
Yeah.
But it was about 10-seater. It was an older plane, sometime from the 70s, but it was still moved.
Yeah,
really
that's very cool. I'm always a little jealous if I forget that, because I'm sorry, Ed brews all his own beer. He's a bright guy. He's a fun guy. He's a smart guy, and also he's a pilot. it, and you forget that part about him, and then you're like, oh, that's right, you have an awesome job that we don't have.
Yeah, and I was on my way to some place, had to do something, but go flying, sure.
Yeah,
I can do what I have to do later.
Absolutely.
So,
the Earth we maybe left will still be here.
Flew about an hour. It was kind of interesting. He was in Easton calling me and saying, "You want to go for a plane ride?" Sure. Well, meet me in Georgetown. Okay, I can meet you in Georgetown. So he picked me up. We flew for about an hour. He came back, dropping off in Georgetown, and off I went again, and off he went. So it was just
that's very cool. Yeah, Easton. I didn't realize what an important airport Easton was. But a lot of the DC hotshots have either planes in Easton or houses in Easton, and they fly into Easton a lot. And so when I was a reporter back in at the Star Democrat, there was this, and it was really weird to see Easton be part of national news because I don't know if you remember the sequester or whatever,
right? Sure.
And so one of the budget cuts was supposed to be to the municipal airports to make them close down and not have an air traffic controller.
Oh, right.
Instead, have a C and B scene during the day. And when Easton was on the list, all of a sudden, hocus pocus, that part of the sequester got fixed.
Well, I was with Georgetown. It's uncontrolled, although there is somebody there that had communicated with, but it's not controlled. It's just like you let this person know that
here I come.
Yeah, I'm coming in, and you just have to watch for other traffic. And nobody really tells you when you can or can't come in, but you're telling somebody. Just I think it's just a courtesy thing.
Yeah, so you don't
they tell you when. Yeah, right.
So I'm sorry. So we got off on airplane stuff, but the airplane stuff is fun. So, but the big announcement today is today we will announce the ShoreCraftBeer.com. Not the ShoreCraft Beer Fest, the winner of the naming of the beers that you guys made for the thing. And do you know the name of the winners?
Beats me. That's number one. That's for the Beats Harvest Ale, the Autumn Harvest Ale. It beats me. I had to take that opportunity. I told Tony, one opportunity beats me. And the second one is Stormy Morning for the Breakfast Porter. For the Breakfast Porter. So congratulations to our winners. I forgot to write your names down, but you've already received a message from me on Facebook. You will, if you email me, we'll get you your tickets. Yeah, I think you get a ticket and a t-shirt. Nobody knows these are two beers that we brewed as collaboration with the ShoreCraft Beer brewers. We came up with two recipes here at Extreme Brewing, provided the ingredients as our part of the project, and brewed it at Assawaman. And the two brewers at Assawaman were Jason for Assawaman and Adam from Backshore Brewing. Right. So, and Jason has been taking care of the beers, and I talked to him this week. He'll have them kegged and ready for serving on Saturday. Well, it's funny. We were talking before we got started about running in like craft beer circles and the difference between being in and out of like the craft beer industry type circles. I forgot, like, if you guys don't know, Doug's like he's kind of a big deal, as they say. But I forget that people don't get the opportunities that I get all the time. So I was talking to my new boss and one of my new coworkers at OceanCity.com, and I was saying how I got to taste the porter and how good it was, and they were outrageously jealous. They're like, "You got to taste it." I'm like, matter of fact, I did. And it was a lot of beer. That's a lot of flavors all happening at the same time. It's not a criticism. It's a really interesting beer. And it's just, and that's Sean Hager's recipe. Yeah, it's a fistful of beer. Yeah. We had that together, you and I. It wasn't he and I, right? So I don't know. Drink a lot of beer around here. And so anyway, there are a couple tickets left. If you haven't purchased your tickets in advance and you're interested in purchasing your tickets, you want to go to ShoreCraftBeerFest.com and get them now. They're limited to 600. They had 300 and some sold. So yeah, looks like it's gonna be quick. Looks like it's gonna be a big event, and you don't want to show up late. That's for sure. Even if you're ticketed, show up early. I'll be talking about the history of craft beer. Doug will be there, and you can taste the two beers that were made explicitly for the event. There's lots of
lots of really cool stuff going on. So please.
There will be serving those 2 beers plus a cider and coffee saison. And what else did we? Bloody IPA, which was a collaboration with the Salisbury Roller Girls.
Right. That coffee saison is that's a really good. That's one of my favorites that they make here. And I mean I have a lot of favorites that they make here. I guess it doesn't make any sense anymore. But I really like that coffee saison, and I can't wait to try the Beats Me, because that should be very cool as well. So we're gonna get to the news real quick. The first thing in the news is oh, all right. Actually connected with the ShoreCraftBeer.com, the Shore Craft Beer Fest. I'm sorry, there's too many words for me. I'm better with words when I have to write them down. Saying them can be complex.
Shore beer?
Shore beer. No, Shore Craft Beer Fest this weekend is part of an effort to make this region a beer destination. And our first story is about other places that are beer destinations. And the reason I thought it'd be fun to talk about it is because Doug is one of those people that includes what breweries are around in his travel plans often.
And we know most of the brewers. A lot of the brewers have been home brewers, or if they haven't been, they've come here for supplies occasionally, or I've known them from other locations that they've been in. So
right.
We're fortunate that we know most of the brewing community.
But like when you go abroad, for instance, we were talking a couple months ago. You've been to Belgium, been to Europe generally, and
Czech Republic. I got the Pilsen, actually where the Pilsner style started. Pilsner well. So.
And one of the cool things about here is that the presence of Dogfish Head makes this kind of already a beer that just, I mean, it's not quite going to Pilsen for Pilsner, but it is like, well, I'm in Delaware. Why would I not go and get, a 60-minute IPA fresh off the tap?
Either at the brewery or at the restaurant.
So.
And that was one thing we did when we went to Pillsbury. Well, they do have a restaurant right on site, so while you're there, you might as well have something to eat, because they it's more German style food, but the prices there were very good because they are not part of the European Union, still have their own currency.
So you're paying for beer in Czechoslovakia rather than beer in Paris.
Right. Exactly. And the food and drink were very reasonable.
And so when you're planning, I mean, I think if you're watching the show or if you're listening later on, when you're planning your destination, your trips, you think about things in terms of destinations, like your beer consumption in terms of where you're going. But one of the things that I think is fun about what we're doing here now is we're putting together a list, like if you're coming, these are where the breweries are. If there's more participation, like when you would go to Pennsylvania and just like wander around until you found
some different breweries,
different brewery, and now we have with some backing of.
But it makes it easier to do things, because not only do you think you know where it is, you got generally a site that tells you, or a brochure that tells you here's where all these local breweries are. So it makes it easier to find.
Right. It's a lot better for us. So we're happy to be a part of it, and we're happy that the idea of having a beer destination is a real thing now, instead of like. The idea that craft breweries are a factor in people's travel plans is really cool. I mentioned earlier how people will often ask,
you don't have to just come here in summertime. You can come here any time of the year. There's still plenty of places to stay at the beach, and you go to and from the beach and stop at the breweries on the way.
It's precisely, and that's an aspect that we already have all these great hotels and all these great places to stay, and stuff for kids, stuff for larger kids, but also the beer just is one more selling point. That's kind of an important part. So I think it's cool that we're becoming a craft beer destination, that we are, and that people are finding out that we are. Next in the news, the guy from Brooklyn Brewery was in the New York Times, I think today or yesterday, talking about distribution and whether or not Budweiser is going to give them a hard time as they try to distribute more and more. briefly put at the end of the story, Budweiser said, we're not the only distributor. There are tons of distributors. In case you don't know, Budweiser is one of the largest distributors, and if they buy Miller, when they buy Miller, they will be almost any time you want to send beer, you're going to have to send it through Budweiser. So they're going to get a taste of that. And people like Brooklyn Brewery are concerned because they feel like it's kind of blocking their path to California and to Points West and the points in the Midwest. I personally don't think, I'm not worried about Brooklyn. I worry about our breweries, first of all. But, I'm not nuts about the let's make everything here and ship it model. I mean, I think what's good about craft beer is that, if you want to have a huge presence in the Midwest, then open a brewery. That's what New Belgium did here. And again, we have friends at Dogfish, and they ship their beers. But
I think it's just the fact that you have to ship it reduces the cost. I mean, instead of having to ship all the way from Colorado to here, now it's coming up from the Carolinas, so you don't have to spend that money for additional shipping, which hopefully would mean cheaper beer prices for here.
Absolutely, and that's the thing that's difficult for us here. Like, it's really hard. Whenever I go into a liquor store and I see, and I'm going to pick up a 6-pack, I'm like, for this same amount of effort, you can get a growler just around the corner. And I think the strength of craft beer generally is this kind of notion where you can get your beer locally or relatively locally. I had the pleasure of being up. I don't know if you know this or not, but Twin Lakes is about to start producing in a big way.
Oh, okay. No, I did not know this.
So that'll be fun. And they actually, this is a fun story that we didn't talk about in advance, but I'll let you know. They bought this big industrial building.
Okay, well, they've been around a while. They've been probably 25, 30 years, 25 years or something, I think.
Yeah, maybe a little less, because I also got to meet.
Dogfish is 20, so they're probably 15 then.
I also got to meet Al Stewart. Do you know Al Stewart?
No.
From Stewart?
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually hope to interview him on Tuesday for the book. He seems like a really, really decent dude, a nice laid back guy. But anyway, so this is about they're in an industrial park, and that's what's really interesting about, especially what's going on in Delaware beer, is that you've got Vespuccian, and you've got Twin Lakes, and you've got Rubber Soul here, and you've got Blue Earl in Bear, Smyrna. And these are all breweries in industrial parks, and the allure of downtown is significant, but also for a lot of these craft
beer. Also, you've got parking problems in the downtown area. You probably space problems.
Absolutely.
And they don't want all the noise downtown.
These guys can grow as big as they want, as fast as they want, as fast as they can manage anyway, with quality. And Ron at Ron, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. And so they've got a great setup there, but it's cool now. I'm in this really interesting position where I can go into these huge places with just a couple of tanks, and you can see that they're like, okay, we're going to make beer in these tanks, and when these tanks are paid for, then we're going to add these tanks.
Well, it's like Third Wave. I mean, Evolution moved out of the building that Third Wave's in now. Instead of Third Wave moving out, they're expanding. So, and I understand they've even bought property behind where they are, so that after this expansion,
they can go again.
Things go well. Yes, they can expand even again.
Right, and so similarly with our friends at RAR, they bought the building behind them, and they're canning there, and Brian's canning over in Berlin. So lots of really cool things happening. That wasn't the point. I got distracted.
We all get sidetracked with things. So.
But when I was
Brooklyn.
Right. Well, actually, this is kind of tied to Brooklyn. When I was up at Twin Lakes, their idea is they want to dominate Greenville.
Okay, yeah, I think that's right.
Greenville.
They're almost on the border of
Wilmington.
Yeah.
So they want to dominate that area first, and then move out kind of slowly. They want to get into maybe Pennsylvania. Same thing, Fordham, which gets a lot of crap because they're already owned partially by Budweiser. Right. But that was an old deal. They had expanded, and then they shrunk back down, and now Jim Lutz was saying the same thing. We want to own Dover, and then we want to own much of Delaware, a little bit of New Jersey, a little bit of Pennsylvania, but he already tried that. They had expanded before he got to Fordham and Old Dominion. Fordham and Old Dominion from Maryland at the time and Virginia respectively were fighting for shelf space in Iowa, you know, and eventually I was like, you know, well, you know, we can't move the beer, or they couldn't do proper quality control. And one of the things that Jim Lutz said was like, hey, I got an idea. How about we sell beer here? Yeah. We don't have to ship it, right? Our salespeople can be here or can be close to here, and we have better control over it. And since they did that, they consolidated. But since they did that, they've done that. They've had a lot more success. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, they got in with Budweiser to make the but that was for the first big expansion. Right. And then now they pulled back, but but Budweiser is already on board. So sometimes people give them crap about it. I don't. I like Fordham beer.
I understand the reason for that. I mean, it allowed them to do distribution easier than what they would have done otherwise.
Absolutely. And when they did it, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, there weren't the kind of capital investors dying to get into beer that there are now. We talked about this, I don't know if it was you or Sean, we talked about Dogfish Head got a big investor recently, and it's just liquidity. When Fordham and Old Dominion were doing it, you know, finding liquidity in beer meant letting Budweiser into. Right.
And I would imagine the Dogfish, you know, they just an investor just like somebody else would invest, but probably just has no say for the most part what goes on.
Right. That's exactly what it is. And
companies need money to work with and expand.
And this is actually a growing trend in craft beer where the investors aren't in for the long haul. They're like, okay, we're gonna give you this amount of money, and you're gonna give us this return. Right. It's almost like a private loan. I guess it kind of is a private loan, right? You give them, they give you $100, you give them back $130, and then they clap their hands and walk away and put money into the next brewery. But we were up there. We got, I think, some of the final pictures of the old Dogfish Head for the book, because they're already under construction in that building next door.
Oh wow, okay.
Kelly's like, my wife was doing the photography, and she's like, why do you want pictures of this boarded up building? I'm like, because next time I do a book, that boarded up building will be Dogfish Head, and then we can do a compare and contrast in 15 years or whatever.
It's history. Something going, something new's coming.
Absolutely, and that's the exciting thing, to be already kind of in it, and to see this next step of people just getting more and more successful. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the mini brew. All right, so we were speaking earlier about. Well, actually, I mentioned it. Go ahead.
This whole thing depends upon what your view of brewing is.
Right, and we're talking about it's like a coffee pot for
more automated brewing. If you're in it just to say, I made this beer, then this automated process works very well. If you are in it to be a true craft thing where you're going to design beers, it's just not a recipe you put in. If it's just to say you made this beer, you get a recipe and you put this in it. Where if you're in it for the craft, you're going to say, I want to put this in it, but I want to leave this out this time. You're going to change the recipe to your taste exactly, where you're just doing the automated process. You may not know what to change in order to get a different result.
Right, so, and for any of you that didn't see the blog post yet, what we're talking about is there used to be like a large, there still is available, a large automatic brewer, but this is a small automatic brewer, which is really just not much different from a coffee pot, and you put all the ingredients into this, and then you come back, and then you have beer. I think the fun part of brewing is not drinking the beer. The beer is an awesome byproduct of the fun part, which is making something yourself. You know, and I don't claim to like I would never give you my coffee and say, hey, I made this. No, I ground up the beans, I heated up the water. You know what I mean? And I didn't have any. I didn't choose the beans. I didn't blend the beans. I didn't roast the beans.
The coffee roaster is the craft part of that part of coffee.
And if I roasted my own coffee beans, you goddamn right, I would tell you I did. I would made this coffee.
But that brings in not just brewing the coffee, but choosing the beans and roasting the beans. And the roasting process is a big percentage of the flavor.
Right.
And how long you roast it, how dark you make it.
Those are all things that
influence
the flavor. Right. And that is it's what makes it fun. So these things keep coming out, and I'm sure they'll continue to keep coming out. As we mentioned before, we were talking about, I'm sorry, I don't remember if this is on air or off air, so I'll rehash it real quick. People who aren't like absorbed in craft beer all the time, the way that, you know, we tend to be, forget that there are people who are never going to like craft beer. My friend Keith is one of them. He's my best friend in the whole world. He's never going to like craft beer. He always tries.
Yeah.
He always tries, but he barely likes Coors. So there's no way he's going to, you know, he's more of a liquor guy. But so there are those people who are never going to like craft beer. But then there's a large chunk of people who like the idea of craft beer and who don't really care very much about it, about the origins one way or the other. You know,
just it's more handmade.
Absolutely, they're like, this is cool.
More unique flavors.
Absolutely. So they're saying that they're enjoying it because it's craft beer, and they're not evaluating it like, and they don't have to. I mean, God bless them, right? And this is for you. If you don't really care about brewing, then this is the brewing apparatus for you. But I see, I know I don't brew. I've said this before, but I like to say it all the time. I'm not personally a home brewer, but I have so much joy out of it that if you're not saving any money. It's not a money saving device. If you want to drink, you can buy way better beer than you're going to make in a coffee pot for at least the same money, probably less. You know, you're not saving money. And so make it yourself for real, or buy. There's plenty of beer. It's not like it's hard to find
I can
beer.
see something small like this, maybe for a brewery who just does a very small test batch, gives you something to start with, and it may be worthwhile because it's small. You're not.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to make a saffron beer.
Yeah, not the large expense in the volume of.
Yeah, but this doesn't look like this. Yeah. What is this? Is this a growler for it? It looks like it's very small. It doesn't look like it's a gallon
and a half or 2 gallons at the most.
Yeah, it's not. So it's not 5.
Yeah.
And most
actually,
of
the keg looks like some of the ones we used to have that were 5 liter. So maybe it's just a gallon at a time.
So anyway, I've not tried it. I'm probably not going to try it. So if you try it and you like it, please let us know.
And maybe I shouldn't be so hard on somebody who wants to do that, but it just.
It feels like, and again, all right. So like this is clearly this is a podcast at a homebrew store.
Yeah.
so you're gonna realize it, but we're not being mean because it's a homebrew store. It's just that for what it's going to take you to get into this, you probably could, wherever you are, because this is the internet, so you're not necessarily here in Laurel, Delaware. Wherever you are, you can get into home brewing
for your local homebrew store.
At your local homebrew store for essentially the same price. There is more mess, but if you're interested, if you want to see if you like to brew yourself, this isn't a good example because the cleaning isn't involved and the taste isn't going to be what it would be if you made it yourself. So that's all. But yeah, if you have one, God bless you. If you have one, call in. Let us know. Let us know how it works. This is called the Mini Brew, and again, you can find on surecraftbeer.com.
Mix, I would say, about 10 bottles, 12-ounce bottles at a time.
Well, that's what. So a lot of times since I come around here often, they're busting my chops that I don't brew. But if I did homebrew, I wouldn't ever bottle ever. I would go right from 0 to 100, right to kegging. And do I look like a guy who needs to have kegs of beer laying around my house? I don't. I know I'm not. But I would be very popular among my friends and neighbors because I would have to give them all of my beer. But we're running up against the clock, so we're going to call it a day here. Please follow us on Twitter. You can find everything, all the social media for us at extremebrewing.com.
And we hope to see you at the Shorecraft Brew Festival in Ocean City this Saturday.
Yes, Doug will be there. They have a big yellow tent.
You'll be there.
I'll be there. I'll be talking.
Yeah.
And I'll have books there for sale for my for Eastern Shore Beer, the Heady History of Chesapeake Brewing. That'll be on sale there. All sorts of fun stuff, all local. This is one of the things that makes this different. We didn't talk about this earlier. One of the things that makes this craft beer festival different is it's only local beers. Every beer that's there was made here on the Eastern Shore. I believe that we have 11 participating breweries, including Doug. And I think there are almost 40 beers that are going to be for sale. The other thing that makes it different is if you want to buy beer, buy a growler beer or buy cans of beer, it's not for consumption on site, but it will be available to you there. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much. Follow us and comment. I know I'm supposed to do this. I always feel ridiculous doing this, but yes, comment, like us, share us, and reach out if you'd like to be on. We would love to have you. But until next week, thanks for joining us.
See you Saturday.
Bye.